He called her stupid. The billionaire tycoon later found her name on the donation plaque. The November rain hammered Manhattan's sidewalks with the relentless persistence of a debt collector. Maya Rodriguez clutched her worn leather portfolio against her chest as she navigated the crowded streets of Midtown, her sneakers squelching through puddles that reflected the neon glow of towering billboards. At 28, she carried herself with quiet determination, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail that had seen too many 16-hour days. The coffee shop on 47th Street buzzed with the familiar chaos of morning rush hour. Steam rose from countless cups while the espresso machine hissed its caffeinated symphony. Maya checked her phone, 8:47 a.m. Her meeting with the hospital board was in 13 minutes, and she still needed to review her presentation one final time. She found a small table near the window, spreading out charts and financial projections with the practiced efficiency of someone who had learned to work anywhere. The numbers told a story she knew by heart. Roosevelt Children's Hospital needed $2.3 million for their new pediatric wing, and every foundation she'd approached had politely declined. This morning's meeting was her last shot. "Excuse me, you're in my seat." Maya looked up to find a man in an expensive charcoal suit standing beside her table. His silver hair was perfectly styled despite the rain, and his watch probably cost more than her annual rent. She glanced around the crowded cafe. Every table was occupied. "I don't see your name on it," she replied, returning to her papers. "And I was here first." He leaned closer, his voice dropping to what she assumed was meant to be intimidating. "Do you know who I am? Should I?" Maya didn't look up from her laptop screen where she was making final adjustments to her PowerPoint presentation. The slide about the children's oncology unit stared back at her, photographs of brave faces that deserved better than her nervousness. "I'm Marcus Sullivan. Sullivan Holdings." He waited for recognition that didn't come. "We own this building, and half the block." Maya finally lifted her eyes, taking in his expectant expression. "Congratulations, that still doesn't make this your personal table." A businessman at the neighboring table had started recording with his phone, clearly entertained by the confrontation. Marcus noticed and his jaw tightened. "Listen, lady, I have an important call in 5 minutes with investors in Tokyo. I need this spot, and I have a presentation in 10 minutes that could save children's lives," Maya said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "I'd say that trumps your phone call." Marcus's laugh was sharp and humorless. "Children's lives? What are you, some kind of amateur social worker? Let me guess, you're asking for donations for some feel-good project that'll waste everyone's money." The coffee shop had grown quieter, conversations pausing as nearby patrons sensed the tension. Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks, but she kept her voice level. "I'm a grant writer for Roosevelt Children's Hospital. We're trying to fund a new pediatric wing." Grant writer. He said it like it tasted bad. "So you're professionally unemployed, basically. Begging for other people's money because you're too stupid to earn your own." The word hung in the air like smoke. Maya's fingers tightened around her pen, but she forced herself to breathe. She'd heard worse from her own family when she'd chosen nonprofit work over the corporate law track they'd mapped out for her. "You know what?" Maya stood, gathering her papers with deliberate calm. "You can have the table. I'd rather stand in the rain than share space with someone who thinks helping sick children is stupid." As she moved toward the door, Marcus called after her, his voice carrying across the now silent cafe. "Good luck with your little charity case. Hope reality doesn't hit you too hard when you fail." Maya paused at the door, rain streaking down the glass. She turned back once, meeting his smug gaze across the crowded room. "Have a nice day, Mr. Sullivan. I hope your phone call goes better than your manners." The door chimed as she stepped back into the storm, leaving behind the warmth and the man who'd just made her morning infinitely more complicated. She had 7 minutes to get to Roosevelt Hospital, compose herself, and somehow convince a room full of skeptical board members to believe in her project. Behind her, Marcus Sullivan settled into the still warm chair, pulling out his phone with satisfaction. He didn't notice the barista shaking her head in disgust. Or the businessman who'd filmed the entire exchange, already uploading it to social media with the caption, "Billionaire bullies nonprofit worker. This is everything wrong with America." Roosevelt. Children's Hospital rose from East 89th Street like a beacon of hope wrapped in brick and glass. Maya hurried through the main entrance, her clothes still damp from the rain, nodding to familiar faces among the staff. The security guard, Roberto, waved her through with a sympathetic smile. He knew about today's crucial meeting. Maya! Dr. Patricia Chen, the hospital's chief of pediatrics, intercepted her near the elevators. "How are you feeling about the presentation?" "Like I'm about to perform surgery without anesthesia," Maya admitted, checking her reflection in the elevator's polished doors. Her mascara had survived the rain, but her confidence felt waterlogged. Dr. Chen's expression softened. "You know, these numbers better than anyone. The board needs to hear what you have to say. Those children upstairs are counting on it." The boardroom on the 15th floor commanded a spectacular view of Central Park, its autumn trees now bare and glistening with rain. 12 people sat around the mahogany conference table, their expressions ranging from politely interested to openly skeptical. Maya recognized most of them: doctors, administrators, and the handful of wealthy donors whose checkbooks kept the hospital running. "Ladies and gentlemen," announced board chairman Dr. William Hayes, "Maya Rodriguez is here to present the proposal for our pediatric expansion project." Maya connected her laptop to the projection system, her hands steadier than she felt. Idiabi, first slide filled the screen. A architectural rendering of the proposed wing, all glass and light, designed to make sick children feel less like patients and more like kids. "Good morning, everyone. What I'm about to show you represents more than just square footage and medical equipment. It represents hope for families who currently have nowhere else to turn." She clicked to the next slide. Statistics that told a heartbreaking story. Currently, Roosevelt Children's Hospital operates at 127% capacity. We're turning away an average ICE of 15 pediatric patients per week. Not because we don't want to help them, but because we literally don't have the space. Board member Margaret Winters, whose foundation had supported the hospital for decades, leaned forward. "Maya, we all understand the need. The question is whether we can realistically raise $2.3 million in the current economic climate." "That's exactly what I'm here to address." Maya's voice grew stronger as she moved through slides showing comparable fundraising campaigns. The Children's Hospital of Philadelphia raised $3.1 million last year. Boston Children's exceeded their $2.8 million goal by 15%. What we're proposing isn't impossible, it's necessary. She paused, making eye contact with each board member. "But this isn't just about money. It's about Isabella Martinez, age 7, who's been on our waiting list for 3 months for her cancer treatment. It's about the Rodriguez family, no relation to me, who drove here from Albany because we're the only hospital within 200 miles that specializes in pediatric heart conditions." The room had grown quiet, the kind of silence that meant people were actually listening. Maya clicked to a slide showing the proposed wing's interior, bright, cheerful spaces designed with input from child psychologists. The new wing would add 45 beds, 2 state-of-the-art surgical suites, and a family counseling center. But more importantly, it would add hope. Hope for parents who've exhausted every other option. Hope for children who deserve the same quality of care regardless of their family's income. Dr. Sarah Kim, the hospital's newest board member, raised her hand. "Maya, your passion is evident, but Margaret's concern about fundraising is valid. What's your realistic timeline for securing this funding?" Maya had prepared for this question, but it still made her stomach knot. "Based on my research and preliminary conversations with foundations, I believe we can secure the full amount within 18 months. That timeline assumes we can identify one major donor willing to contribute at least $500,000, with the remainder coming from smaller foundations and individual donors." "One major donor," repeated board treasurer Frank Morrison, not bothering to hide his skepticism. "Do you have anyone specific in mind?" "I have a list of potential candidates," Maya replied, though her confidence wavered. Every wealthy individual she'd researched seemed to have their preferred charities already mapped out for the next 5 years. The questions continued for another 20 minutes, each one testing different aspects of her proposal. Maya answered them all, drawing on months of research and preparation, but she could feel the room's energy shifting toward polite disappointment. Finally, Dr. Hayes cleared his throat. "Maya, thank you for a thorough presentation. The board will need to discuss this privately and vote. We'll have an answer for you by the end of the week." As Maya packed up her materials, she caught Dr. Chen's eye. The older woman's slight shake of the head confirmed what Maya already suspected. The vote wouldn't go her way. Too ambitious, too expensive, too risky in an uncertain economy. Walking back through the hospital corridors, Maya stopped by the pediatric ward. Through the windows of the children's rooms, she could see young patients connected to machines that beeped and hummed with electronic determination. Their parents sat in uncomfortable chairs, wearing the exhausted expressions of people who'd run out of options. In room 314, she spotted Isabella Martinez, the 7-year-old she'd mentioned in her presentation. The little girl was drawing with colored pencils, her bald head covered by a bright pink cap. Her mother looked up as Maya passed, offering a tired smile of recognition. Maya smiled back, but her heart ached. She'd failed them all. Isabella, the other children on the waiting list, the families who would continue to be turned away. As she reached the elevator, her phone buzzed with a notification. Someone had tagged her in a video on social media. She watched in horror as her morning confrontation with Marcus Sullivan played out on her phone screen. The comments below were already multiplying. "This billionaire is disgusting. Respect to this woman for standing up to him. Sullivan Holdings should be ashamed." Maya closed the app quickly, her cheeks burning. The last thing she needed was social media drama complicating her already complicated day. She had bigger problems to solve, like finding $2.3 million to save children's lives. By Thursday morning, Maya's phone had become a relentless notification machine. The video of her confrontation with Marcus Sullivan had exploded across social media platforms, accumulating over 3 million views in less than 48 hours. Coffee Shop Showdown and Stand Up to Sullivan were trending nationwide. Maya sat in her cramped studio apartment in Washington Heights, scrolling through hundreds of supportive messages from complete strangers. Her laptop balanced precariously on her kitchen table, which doubled as her desk, dining room, and sometimes ironing board. The space was small but organized, every inch maximized through necessity rather than choice. "Maya Rodriguez is a hero," read one tweet with 50,000 likes. "This is exactly the kind of person we need more of in the world." Another comment thread had grown to over 2,000 replies. "I looked up Roosevelt Children's Hospital after seeing this video. They really do need funding for their pediatric wing. Here's the link to donate." Her phone rang, Dr. Chen's name appearing on the screen. "Maya, have you seen the news this morning?" "I've been trying to avoid it," Maya admitted, though she'd spent the last hour doing exactly the opposite. "I never wanted this kind of attention. Channel 7 wants to interview you for their evening news segment. And the Times is sending a reporter this afternoon. Maya, this could be exactly what we need for the hospital campaign." Maya felt her stomach drop. "Dr. Chen, I can't. I'm not comfortable being the face of this. What if I say something wrong? What if I make things worse?" "Worse." Dr. Chen's voice was gentle but firm. "Maya, in the last 2 days, our donation website has received more traffic than it has in the past 6 months. People are calling to ask specifically about the pediatric wing project. Whatever you said in that coffee shop resonated with people." After hanging up, Maya made herself a cup of coffee. Cheap instant, nothing like the artisanal blend from yesterday's cafe, and opened her laptop to check the hospital's donation page. The numbers made her blink twice. $47,000 raised in 48 hours, with donations ranging from $5 to $500. A knock at her door interrupted her amazement. Maya wasn't expecting anyone, and her building's security consisted mainly of a broken intercom and hope. She peered through the peephole to see a young woman with a professional camera and a man holding a microphone. Ms. Rodriguez? I'm Jennifer. Walsh from Channel 7 News. We were hoping to speak with you about the incident at the coffee shop. Maya leaned against the door, her heart racing. Through the thin wood, she could hear more voices. Multiple news crews had apparently found her address. Her phone buzzed with a text from her downstairs neighbor. Girl, there are like 6 news vans outside. You famous or something? Instead of opening the door, Maya grabbed her jacket and headed for the fire escape. Growing up in the Bronx had taught her the value of knowing multiple exit strategies. She climbed down to the building's rear courtyard, emerging onto a side street where her 10-year-old Honda Civic waited like a faithful friend. 20 minutes later, she was back at Roosevelt Hospital, seeking refuge in the place that had become more home than her actual apartment. She found Dr. Chen in the pediatric ward, making rounds with a group of medical students. The media circus found my apartment, Maya said when Dr. Chen stepped away from the group. I'm not surprised. Maya, I need to tell you something important. The board meeting has been moved up to this afternoon. The publicity has changed everything. They walked toward Dr. Chen's office, passing the same rooms Maya had looked into after her failed presentation. Isabella Martinez was there again. This time playing a handheld video game while her mother dozed in the bedside chair. How has it changed everything? Maya asked. 3 board members have received calls from potential donors. People who saw the video and want to know more about the hospital. Margaret Winters told me this morning that her foundation is reconsidering their position on major gifts this year. Dr. Chen's office was a study in organized chaos. Medical journals stacked beside family photos, pediatric charts mixed with administrative paperwork. She gestured for Maya to sit in the worn leather chair across from her desk. Maya, I know. You didn't ask for this attention, but sometimes the universe has its own timeline. You stood up for something you believe in, and people responded. That's not an accident. But what if the board still says no? What if all this attention amounts to nothing? Then we'll have tried everything we could think of, Dr. Chen replied. But I have a feeling this story isn't over yet. Maya's phone buzzed again. Another interview request, this time from a national morning show. She declined the call, but couldn't ignore the growing awareness that her small act of defiance had touched something larger than herself. Outside Dr. Chen's window, the city stretched endlessly in all directions, millions of people going about their daily lives. Somewhere among them was Marcus Sullivan, probably unaware that his moment of casual cruelty had sparked a conversation about privilege, kindness, and the value of nonprofit work. Maya thought about Isabella Martinez and the other children whose futures hung in the balance. If her unwanted fame could somehow help them, maybe the embarrassment and invasion of privacy would be worth it. Her phone rang again. This time, the caller ID showed a number she didn't recognize, with a 212 area. Code Manhattan, Miss Rodriguez. This is Catherine Walsh from the Sullivan Holdings Public Relations Department. Mr. Sullivan would like to schedule a meeting with you at your earliest convenience. Maya nearly dropped the phone. A meeting? About what? Mr. Sullivan prefers to discuss that in person. Would tomorrow morning work for you? Maya looked out at the city skyline, wondering what Marcus Sullivan could possibly want to say to her now. Whatever it was, she suspected it would change everything once again. The Sullivan Holdings building pierced the Manhattan sky like a glass and steel monument to corporate ambition. Maya stood on the sidewalk outside, craning her neck to count floors until they blurred into the gray November sky. 47 stories of wealth and power, and somewhere near the top, Marcus Sullivan was waiting for her. Her reflection in the lobby's polished marble made her self-conscious. She'd chosen her best professional outfit, a navy blazer she'd bought at an outlet store and pants that were slightly too long. But in this temple of luxury, she felt like an imposter. The security desk alone probably cost more than her annual salary. Maya Rodriguez to see Marcus Sullivan, she told the uniformed security officer, whose name tag read James in elegant script. 47th floor, Ms. Rodriguez. The elevator bank is to your right. The elevator rose with whisper-quiet efficiency, and Maya watched the floor numbers climb while her stomach dropped. She'd spent sleepless hours wondering why Sullivan wanted to meet. An apology seemed unlikely given his behavior in the coffee shop. More probable scenarios ranged from legal threats to some kind of public relations manipulation. The elevator opened directly into Sullivan Holdings' executive suite, where floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of Central Park. A receptionist with perfect posture and an even more perfect smile directed Maya to a seating area furnished with chairs that probably cost more than her monthly rent. "Mr. Sullivan will be with you shortly," the woman said, her voice carrying the kind of professional warmth that expensive companies taught their staff. Maya tried to focus on the view instead of her nerves. From this height, the park looked like a miniature model, with tiny people walking along paths that curved between bare trees. She could see Roosevelt Hospital in the distance, a modest building dwarfed by the residential towers surrounding it. "Ms. Rodriguez." She turned to find Marcus Sullivan approaching, and her first thought was that he looked different, tired maybe, or uncertain. Gone was the aggressive confidence from the coffee shop. His handshake was brief and professional. "Thank you for coming. Would you like coffee? Water?" "I'm fine," Maya replied, though her mouth felt dry as dust. He led her to his private office, a space that managed to be both impressive and surprisingly personal. Beyond the expected mahogany desk and leather furniture, Maya noticed photographs of what appeared to be family. An older woman who shared his eyes, children at various ages, casual moments that seemed at odds with his corporate persona. "I suppose you're wondering why I asked you here," Sullivan began, settling into the chair across from her rather than behind his intimidating desk. The thought had crossed my mind. He almost smiled at that, then grew serious again. "I've been watching the news coverage. The video from the coffee shop has been educational." Maya waited, unsure how to respond. Was this going to be an apology or a lecture about social media's impact on his business? "My assistant showed me something yesterday that I think you should see." He handed her a tablet displaying a news article. "It's about Roosevelt Children's Hospital's fundraising campaign." Maya glanced at the headline. "Viral video sparks outpouring of support for Children's Hospital." The article detailed how donations had surged following their confrontation, with small-dollar contributors from across the country sending money specifically for the pediatric wing project. "I've read this already," Maya said, handing back the tablet. "Then you know that your project has raised over $150,000 in less than a week." "It's wonderful," Maya admitted, "but we still need more than $2 million. Small donations alone won't get us there." Sullivan stood and walked to his window, hands clasped behind his back. From where Maya sat, he looked like a man carrying a weight she couldn't see. "Ms. Rodriguez, I need to tell you something about my family. My younger sister, Emma, spent most of her childhood in and out of hospitals. Leukemia, diagnosed when she was 6. Maya felt the conversation shift into unexpected territory. "I'm sorry. That must have been difficult. She died when she was 12. His voice was steady, but Maya could hear the carefully controlled emotion underneath. "Our parents were wealthy enough to afford the best care available, but even then, the hospitals were overcrowded, understaffed. Emma spent her last months on a waiting list for a bed in a specialized pediatric unit." He turned back to face her, and Maya was surprised to see genuine vulnerability in his expression. "I built this company partly in her memory. Every success, every deal, every dollar earned, it was supposed to mean something. But somewhere along the way, I forgot what that something was." Maya remained silent, sensing that interrupting would break whatever spell was allowing this conversation to happen. "When I saw that video, heard myself calling your work stupid, I realized I'd become exactly the kind of person Emma would have hated. The kind of person who thinks money gives them the right to dismiss other people's dignity." He returned to his chair, leaning forward with his hands clasped. "I've spent the last 3 days learning everything I can about Roosevelt Children's Hospital. Your grant applications, your financial projections, your success rates with previous fundraising campaigns. Ms. Rodriguez, your work is exceptional. Thank you, Maya said quietly, still processing this unexpected turn. I'd like to make a donation to your pediatric wing project, a substantial one. Maya's heart began racing, but she forced herself to remain calm. How substantial? $1.5 million. The number hung in the air between them like something tangible. Maya blinked, certain she'd misheard. I'm sorry, did you say? 1.5 million. It would be made through the Emma Sullivan Foundation, established in my sister's memory. The donation would come with only one condition. Maya waited, her mind reeling. I'd like the new wing to include a memorial garden. Nothing ostentatious, just a quiet space where families can find peace during difficult times. Emma always loved gardens. Maya felt tears threatening and swallowed hard. Mr. Sullivan, I don't know what to say. You could start by calling me Marcus, and you don't need to say anything right now. Take time to discuss this with your board. My lawyers will handle the paperwork. As Maya prepared to leave, Marcus walked her to the elevator. Ms. Rodriguez, Maya, I owe you an apology for my behavior in the coffee shop. There's no excuse for treating another person that way. Thank you, Maya said. And Marcus, I think Emma would be proud of what you're doing. The elevator doors closed on his surprised smile, and Maya began her descent back to street level, her mind spinning with the impossibility of what had just happened. In her purse, she carried Marcus Sullivan's business card and a check that would transform Roosevelt Children's Hospital forever. 6 months later, Maya stood before a crowd of nearly 200 people gathered in the atrium of Roosevelt Children's Hospital's new pediatric wing. Spring sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting rainbow patterns on the polished floor, where children's artwork decorated the walls in an explosion of color and hope. She smoothed her new dress, a professional navy blue outfit she'd purchased specifically for today's dedication ceremony, and looked out at the faces in the audience. Dr. Chen sat in the front row, beaming with pride. The hospital board members who had once questioned her fundraising projections now nodded approvingly as she spoke. Local news crews captured every moment, but this time Maya felt comfortable in the spotlight. When I started working on this project 18 months ago, Maya said into the microphone, I believed in its necessity, but I wondered if we could realistically raise the funds needed to make it a reality. Today, thanks to the generosity of donors large and small, we're not just opening a new wing. We're opening doors to hope for thousands of children and families. The final fundraising tally had exceeded everyone's expectations, $2.7 million, with contributions from over 3,000 individual donors. After Marcus Sullivan's transformative gift, smaller donations had continued pouring in from across the country. The viral video had evolved into a sustained fundraising campaign that captured the public's imagination. I'd like to recognize some special people who made this day possible, Maya continued. Dr. Patricia Chen, whose vision and leadership guided this project from conception to completion. Our incredible medical staff, who provide world-class care every single day, and our construction team, who worked around the clock to ensure this wing opened ahead of schedule. Applause rippled through the crowd. Maya spotted Isabella Martinez sitting with her mother in the third row, the 9-year-old's hair now grown back in soft curls after successfully completing her treatment in the hospital's expanded oncology unit. But most importantly, I want to thank our donors. Every contribution, whether $5 or $500,000, represented someone's belief that children deserve access to excellent health care, regardless of their families' financial circumstances. Maya paused, looking toward the back of the room where Marcus Sullivan stood quietly beside a large easel covered with a white cloth. Over the past 6 months, he'd visited the construction site regularly, asking thoughtful questions about the design and offering suggestions that improved the final result. Our lead donor requested that his contribution remain anonymous, Maya said, but he also requested that we include a special feature in the new wing. Today, I'm honored to unveil the Emma Sullivan Memorial Garden. Marcus stepped forward and pulled away the cloth, revealing an architectural rendering of a rooftop garden complete with flowering trees, walking paths, and quiet seating areas where families could find moments of peace. "The garden will be completed this fall," Maya explained, providing a therapeutic outdoor space designed specifically for our patients and their families. It represents the belief that healing involves more than just medical treatment. It requires nurturing the spirit as well as the body. After the formal ceremony concluded, Maya found herself in the new wing's largest patient room, surrounded by the people who had made this day possible. The room was bright and cheerful, with large windows, built-in storage for family belongings, and medical equipment that had been integrated seamlessly into the design. Dr. Chen joined her at the window, which offered a view of the construction area where the memorial garden would soon take shape. "I keep thinking about that board meeting 6 months ago," Dr. Chen said, "the day you presented this project for the first time. Did you ever imagine it would lead to this?" Maya shook her head. "I thought I'd failed completely. Walking out of that meeting, I was certain the board would reject the proposal." "Sometimes failure is just success wearing a disguise," Dr. Chen observed. "If the board had approved your original proposal immediately, we might never have secured the additional funding that made all these upgrades possible." Through the window, Maya could see Marcus Sullivan talking with a group of construction workers, pointing toward the future garden site with animated gestures. His transformation over the past 6 months had been remarkable, from the arrogant businessman in the coffee shop to someone genuinely committed to improving children's lives. "Maya?" A small voice interrupted her thoughts. Isabella Martinez stood in the doorway, holding her mother's hand. "Isabella, how do you like the new wing?" "It's beautiful," the little girl said, her eyes wide as she took in the room's colorful artwork and child-friendly features. "Is it true that you helped build this?" "I helped raise the money for it," Maya explained, "but lots of people worked together to make it happen." Isabella's mother stepped forward, her eyes bright with tears. "Ms. Rodriguez, I don't know how to thank you. When Isabella was first diagnosed, we were so scared. This hospital saved her life, and now other families won't have to wait like we did." As the afternoon wound down, Maya found herself alone in the memorial garden construction area. The space was still mostly dirt and concrete, but she could envision the mature trees, the walking paths, the benches where worried parents would find moments of solitude. "It's going to be beautiful." She turned to find Marcus approaching, his expensive suit now dusty from examining the construction site. "I think Emma would love it," Maya replied. "Tell me about her." Marcus smiled, the genuine expression so different from the cold facade she'd first encountered. "She was stubborn, fearless, and completely convinced she could change the world. Even when she was sick, she was always trying to cheer up the other kids in the hospital. She sounds like someone I would have liked. She would have loved you," Marcus said. "Emma always said that the people who try to help others are the real heroes. I'm ashamed it took me 43 years to understand what she meant." As the sun set over Manhattan, painting the city in shades of gold and orange, Maya felt a profound sense of completion. The new pediatric wing would serve thousands of children over the coming decades. The memorial garden would provide comfort to countless families during their most difficult moments. But perhaps most importantly, the project had proven that people from vastly different backgrounds could come together around a shared commitment to helping others. In a world that often felt divided and cynical, Roosevelt Children's Hospital's new wing stood as a testament to what was possible when compassion overcame prejudice. Maya's phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Saw the news. Coverage of the hospital dedication, you should be proud. A fellow coffee shop patron." She smiled, remembering that November morning when everything had changed with a single moment of standing up for what she believed in. Sometimes the smallest acts of courage created the largest ripples of change. As she prepared to leave the hospital that evening, Maya stopped by the donor recognition wall in the main lobby. A new bronze plaque had been installed that afternoon, listing the names of everyone who had contributed to the pediatric wing project. At the top, in elegant lettering, it read, In memory of Emma Sullivan, who believed that healing requires both medicine and love. Below that, hundreds of names were engraved in smaller text, a community of strangers united by their shared desire to help children in need. Maya found her own name near the bottom, listed simply as Project Coordinator. But she knew that her real contribution couldn't be measured in titles or recognition. She had learned to believe in the power of ordinary people to create extraordinary change, one small act of courage at a time.